Welcome back to the 55. We've had some stuff show up from Summit. The wedding is over. Life is slowly getting back to normal. And, you know, it's September 2nd, so it's freezing out now. Got some beautiful black braided that should slide over these lines and protect those. Make them look really nice. Got the, well, there's all our fittings. Got this fitting that we needed, because remember, we're doing a tube nut here and a tube nut here for the return line and the feed line. Then somewhere around here, I got to find it. He made a bracket for us to put on the firewall. I know if you've been watching this, it's been a little while. So that's going to give us that. We still have to work out how we want to do a pressure sender or a gauge or something. We can work on that, because this will be exposed where we can get at it. I just haven't found something I like yet on that regard. So now I got to dig back through here, find everything we've been planning, get the tools out, we'll get all this going. And they haven't been sitting still. You can see the Dynamat's going down. You know, car's starting to get heavier and quieter. It's always nice. I really always enjoy the Dynamat. And I've got to assume a little bit's been done on the 78. I just have to assume that. I always get, oh yeah, she's pantsless. So, yep. Yeah, because if you recall, that was one of the worst sections of this car, was that tail pan. Especially the inside part that looks like he's already peeled off. So, well, yeah, that came off in rusty bits. So, yeah, it's not like things haven't been happening. We just haven't been filming. I even worked on the Pontiac a little, and I just, you know, with wiring stuff, you can't, it's too much hassle to film it. So, that's where we're at. Oh, and the hose for the throttle bodies is also here, too. It's a nice black braided. So that's going to look really nice. That's the one that goes from the two throttle bodies down. And then those two will then feed right off of the regulator. So one will come off the top one will come off the front one. They'll both right angle out, loop up. It's going to be great. Found it. Here it is. So that's going to go off the 3/8 return line. That's our 1/2-inch feed line. Like I said, this port at some point will become a gauge, but we got to find some Lincoln logs or whatever to make that work the way we want. But that's accessible. So we're still got to add holes to the bracket he made, which he did add a little bit of counter to make it a little stiffer. And he did add a ridge over here to help it out. He didn't put the holes in yet. You know, gives us some freedom to decide. And he did cut himself a little leather gasket to go on the back to kind of keep it from rubbing the paint. So we can work with that. A little Super 77 on that once the holes are drilled. So yeah, guess the next step is figuring out exactly where this is going to mount, getting the holes drilled here to get that mounted, and then once it's on the firewall, we can start massaging those and getting those to line up. We got sidelined a little bit because, you know, cooling on these hot rods is always an issue. So even though we're supposed to be working on the 55, we found a really interesting remote mount water pump today that comes from Australia that we're interested in, that may solve some of the problems in the Courier for the heating. So definitely look for that in the future. We're very interested in getting that cool enough to drive anywhere in the country. I think that would be pretty fun, wouldn't it? And look, he's been driving her. Final fitting our bracket. So I have piloted the one hole. We are not going to locate that one yet until we're done building all that. But it's time to get all that done. We did have to open this a little bit, but when we're done, a little paint, a little scraping, you'll never know. Okay, so we're getting ready for the first test fit. And we want to figure out where we're going to locate this second hole. So this, oh boy, should fit right here like that. Then we'll use a level until that's vertical, and then we'll place our hole. It'll be up here somewhere. We'll get that started and tapped. And we're just using blue tape for now because that happens. This is the part where we're playing the hide a little here, hide a little there, get our little bends. We'll put the sleeve on it in a minute, but I'm getting ready to cut this one down. I want these lines to actually help hold this. So I don't want to rely only on that screw and that nut. It is close to the heater hoses, but it's not touching them. Okay, so there are our protective sleeves. So I'll put that clamp back on when we get to that point. Getting ready to put the ends on. So it's a lot easier to take the ends to the wrenches and find out what size you want than it is to keep walking back and forth with wrenches. And then of course always store the leftovers because, you know, it's pretty neat stuff. Time to pull all that up to be cleaned up, but we're real happy with how those came out. So you can see those are tube nutted on there now. This is what I wanted that to look like. Look how nice that's going to look. And then there'll be one feeding off here for one carb, or not carb, fuel injection, one feeding for the other. And that of course is that black braided stuff. Oh, this is going to look really, really nice. It's always going to be a little tweaky here, a little tweaky there. But see, plenty of room to that heater hose. It's really going to look nice with a motor sitting next to it. Just to show the concept here. Obviously it wouldn't be looped, it'd go to both throttle bodies. And also we think we're going to put a 135 here, but he doesn't have one, but I have one at home, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, that's the concept. We just got to figure out what we want to do so that we can have a gauge right there. So we'll have to play fitting games with that. Nothing you can do. But then those will of course actually be this material, and they will run along the engine here and then up to the two throttle bodies between them. If you remember in a previous video, we have the fuel inlets between the two, so that that can tuck down and we get the tightest practical hood alignment, when, because you're gonna have to cut the hood no matter what. So if you got to do it, you want it to be as tidy as possible. So that's kind of where that's going. But yeah, this is why this was so important to us, that we spend the time on this. That process, you can see it going down, you know. One, it protects it too. It makes it look so much nicer. And three, I mean, the headers are right here, so let's keep heat off of everything. So, all right, that's starting to look pretty good. One of the big problems with long-term projects is finding things that you're certain you bought, like a throwout bearing, a pilot bushing. Don't know where those are. We're looking, but we're starting to gather everything we need now for putting the motor and trans in for the last time. So this time it all has to actually work, and it all has to actually be there, because there's really no reason for them to not be in there at this point. So we're just trying to find everything so that hopefully anything we can't find we can just get on order right away. Trying to remember when we spec'd all that out. It was a long time ago. We finally found the right box to dig in, and here's all those things we couldn't find. So we found our throwout bearing, our pilot bearing, our pressure plate bolts. Yeah, so it's in the bottom of this box over here, which we also, for some reason, ordered another pivot fork, but we also have the one in this Lakewood bell housing, so don't know that we need the one from Summit. So here's our shifter handle, our shift ball, the Z-bar linkage, which we have had in before. So that makes us feel so much better. No, we did find the shifter too, because we're going to need that. So there's our actual shifter. I have a feeling it's going to be a lot harder to put that on once the tranny's in. As you can see, you know, I think it's going to be easier to put it in with that already on. Alright, so either next week or the week after, this is all going back in. And that'll be that. So at this point, Well, it's getting pretty late. So, all right. Thanks for watching. ShopRex has to remember, safety first.